Recording live from the E. Haley Memorial Studios, straight out of Almont, Ontario, it's time for This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, your one and only weekly Warmahordes news broadcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, the beers are cold, the news is fresh, and the death clock starts now. Good evening, everybody. It's the Death Clock. It's Wednesday night. It's a pretty exciting night. We've got big plans, huge plans, giant plans. The main thing tonight is our guest is the one, the only, Fraser Belfour from Troll Blood Scrum, as well as Deaf Head Dice, as well as 600 billion other things. I think Fraser is slowly outdoing me as one of the busiest people in outdoing Marc Andre. I think the only person that may beat him is Menoth John himself, is the busiest podcaster in all of podcastdom.
Yeah.
So to, of course, my left is no other than PG Semi-Auto Magic.
Hello.
And on my right, the Ringo to my George.
Hey, buddy.
The one, the only,
Hey,
the
buddy.
Maelstrom, the guy who can break things with just by looking at them.
It's true. I've done it before. I'm doing it right now.
With his mind. He's breaking the computer as we speak. So what we're going to talk about later on the Death Clock tonight after we get through the news segment. So if you're not interested in the news or you're listening to this after the fact, you can skip ahead. But after the news segment tonight, the focus tonight is going to be on trolls. We brought Fraser in because Fraser does a podcast about trolls, knows something about trolls, and between him and I, we're going to try to wax philosophical on trolls.
Somebody had to know something about trolls.
Yeah.
One of us has to
It's
know
not George
something.
and I, that's for damn sure.
Nope.
And trolls are becoming a bit of a thing right now. There's this guy called Madrak 2 who's
Never heard of him.
Kind of a legit thing.
Madrak 2?
Madrak 2.
Like the second version of the normal guy? Or?
Yeah.
That BattleBox caster?
Yeah.
I've seen the BattleBox cast.
Yeah, from Mark 1.
I've lost a few of those Mark 1 BattleBox games.
Okay. But first we're going to talk about the news. Fraser, you've been on the show before, so you know how this works. If you got information on this, just jump in at any time. You do kind of have to interrupt us because of a little bit of a delay on Skype.
But feel free to.
Normally we do this behind the scenes, but we're messing with the audio first. Okay, so first things first, PP has announced that they're looking for new playtesters. Pretty exciting. I think with all the complaints coming out of the meta at large about how play-tested Mark III was, they're kind of telling people to put their money where their mouth is and come and do it and show up and so you being a PG, you know a few other people who may or may not be playtesters. They can't talk about it. What's the deal? How do you become a playtester?
Well, for this one, you fill out a form and you wait with bated breath.
And apparently they're going to do a bunch of exceptions, and then you have to play with a fake faction that they've created.
Yeah, that is not at all the one that they're playtesting.
Merpandas. And there is like special things in there that are broken.
Yeah, and the idea is to see whether you can find intentionally broken stuff.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem with a playtester group is it's only as good as the individuals in it.
Yeah.
Because you need not necessarily consensus, but a decent amount of the people in the group saying this is busted one way or another. Like this is either way underpowered or this is way overpowered.
Right.
To try and actually get a balanced game.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who will theory machine the hell out of it and then try and give responses, and that's not good enough. You have to actually be playing.
Yep.
And they need to find people who can catch this stuff.
Fraser, how do you obviously, do you feel that Mark III needed more playtesting? Are you excited? Are you going to register for the playtest program? What's your feelings on it?
Well, I think since Madrak 2 is perfectly fair and balanced, I don't think there's any additional playtesting required for starters. To follow that up, I do almost all my games on a live stream, and I'm pretty sure that'll break several parts of the NDA. Since I don't think I've played off of the home machine feed other than one tournament in months. So I've sort of excluded myself. But I think it's a great idea. I think it gives people at least even the impression that they have an impact on it. Whether or not they'll actually have an overall impact, because we don't know what they're going to do with these results or what the kind of results are. But I think it's healthy. I think it's showing that PP is listening to what the community is saying, and potentially, hopefully, there will be some good feedback out of it.
Maelstrom?
Yeah, I'm just.
Do you want to be a playtester, or are you like running for the hills?
I'm kind of curious what level of play, like what level of experience they're looking at. Are they looking for like an across the board thing where they want super experienced, fantastic like WTC level players and some kind of hobby players that are?
I don't know if they're looking. I mean, George, you can talk about this more. But I don't think they're looking for your experience so much as your ability to I think if you are a new player that has higher level ability to catch bizarre synergies and because I mean that's the thing, right? That's what we're testing for. We're testing. They can look at it all they want and say, oh, this is pretty fair and balanced. What we're looking for is those broken pieces that don't come out until the game goes live.
Yeah, what they're looking for to a certain extent is just boots on the ground. Right. You need to have a bunch of play testers playing it over and over and over again, because I think you're right. It doesn't really matter let's say how good you are at the game, but how solid your rules knowledge is.
Okay.
Right? Because you're gonna need to know things. They can't change a caster based on bad rules knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you completely ignore the in combat bonus, and this is a caster that has unyielding, so it's got a lot of armor when he's engaged, so he's always trying to get engaged, and you're like, well, I can always hit him at 12, maybe he should be bumped up to 14,
right.
And then they create a caster who's 18, that shit's not okay. No. Right?
Yeah.
What you need to have a really good grasp on the rules.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really give a shit how tactically sound you are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not about whether you can use those to beat everybody. It's about whether you can catch the. Anyway, let's leave that behind. Some interesting tidbits. If you want to kind of test your knowledge of the rules, just go check out the document. There's I want to say 14 questions, and from question 8, I believe, on are rules interaction questions, and they are the kind of things that judges dread. They're those kind of questionable because one thing doesn't match another.
I wonder if they came from the judge document.
I bet you they did, because they're very close to what I would expect a Tim Banky to have to deal with. Because and they're even when you look at them and you look at the two, the rules that you're using as reference, you go, oh crap.
Yeah, wait a second.
Wait a second. This doesn't work fluidly. Anyway, check those out. It's totally legit. New Primecast hit yesterday, I want to say.
Yep.
I did not have a chance to listen to the whole thing because I have crap internet right now. I tried my ass off. Apparently, there's a lot of cool tidbits in there. Did you have a chance, George?
No, unfortunately. I have been locked down at work.
Maelstrom?
Also locked down at work.
Fraser did no. We are 4 news podcasters, and none of us listened to what apparently was the best Primecast ever.
Really?
We're all getting a slap on the wrist.
All right, so we failed at our job. We're all fired. Too bad nobody else has all this equipment to do this.
Maybe
every
somebody
week.
from the audience will let us know.
Yeah, we have heard from Legionnaire that the Primecast is super awesome. We should listen to it. There's some
tidbits on Theme Forces.
Some cool Theme Force tidbits
in the last third.
Yeah. So check that
everybody
out.
Forward to the last third.
Yeah. We'll talk about that next week, I think, more in depth. The next thing on the list is they're doing this Ask a Warcaster dealio.
Yeah, that looks really fun.
This week is my favorite caster. It's like like they knew it was my birthday.
They did.
So they're talking.
I emailed them.
You can ask people about Kane, or you can ask Kane questions, and Kane will answer them. Apparently, he's going to answer the top 3.
The top 3 on this Friday.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to our podcast on the feed, so tomorrow those will be going up. So you really want to get those out as quick as possible.
According to Shikaku on the chat, the Primecast talked about a Man-O-War large base and a Man-O-War battle engine.
Whoa.
We had actually heard about the Man-O-War large base. A lot of people were thinking it was going to be Baby Karchev's.
Right.
But we don't have much more information about that.
We just know that they really want the Man-O-War to be a more iconic unit, I think.
Well, I think they are iconic. They're
that
unit that everybody has sitting on the shelf that's not in their bag.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that was announced was there is a new Kane book coming out. This is so they've had the Way of Kane.
Right.
This one's the Mark of Kane.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's got the picture of the Kane pistol wraith on the
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. And the cool thing about Kane is, if you know your fluff, he's gone rogue.
Yep.
He helped Magnus a little bit too much and is now gone rogue. So we're hoping to see. My personal hope is that we get to see a Merc
Caster
Merc
unit.
Kane. I don't even
yeah.
care if he's a caster unit. I just want to see him. I want to see a Merc Kane. All right. The last thing, we've seen the covers for the new command books. We've seen Menoth, we've seen Signar, and we've seen Trolls.
Yep.
Yeah, they look gorgeous, and they put the prints of those in the online store.
Right.
And I kind of want them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you excited about the Forces book there, Fraser, the Troll Forces?
Absolutely. I'm glad we're one of the first ones released. The art looks fantastic, and we are seeing a hint at the new caster, which is the junior growing up, which is nice to see him in the back. And I think Madrak 3's on there as well. So looks like we'll get all our new caster rules in that book. And December can't come soon enough.
One of the great things about those books is that they've said that all of the new models in the books will be out within 3 months of the model coming out, or of the book coming out. So we should see them not like 2 years from now, but really quite quickly.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on from the news. That's it for this week. It's time for a little focus. This week's focus, what we're trying to do on the show ever since Mark III dropped was kind of do these micro faction overviews and understand that these are kind of on a lower, they're not a high level faction overview. What we're really trying to do is give us all a forum to talk about a faction, give people who are about to face a faction they've never faced before some tidbits and information, and allow us to really sort of say what we think. What we're trying to do is we bring on an expert every time. And this week's expert on trolls is no other than Fraser, who has a little podcast that's about trolls and stuff.
Yep.
Indeed. And I fake my way through every episode.
Perfect. So
shouldn't you have told us that before?
So I'm gonna leave it to Maelstrom and PG. Both admittedly have never played Trolls. They played against it.
I shouldn't say that.
I played against Trolls.
I have played Trolls.
Oh, you've played Trolls. You played your wife's Troll.
I played the Mark 1 Battle Box.
Yeah, there you go. So what we're going to do is let them ask the questions, and you and I will try to answer them. I'm going to leave them mainly open to you, and then I'll just butt in if I think I have a piece of information.
Do you want to start, PG?
Well,
do you want to do the first one?
Well, I think if we're going to start this whole thing, we really should ask Fraser why Trolls.
That was the first one, yeah.
So I started in War Machine with Signar because it was blue and it was the good guys, which seemed to meet my criteria for every other game I played. And then I saw the Gunbjorn carrying that big-ass bazooka and thinking, that's my faction. So I started Mark II playing Trollblood solely on Gunbjorn and didn't actually ever put him on the table once I started reading the rules. Bought the model, but never actually played him. So my previous game experience, I played Orcs in 40K, and there was enough similarity in the painting. And the Signar stuff I found just was too tiny for me to paint when I was so used to painting Orcs. So Trolls sort of met the criteria. Big, beefy models, easy to paint. I get through them, and I really like the look and the feel of them. And then I started reading the rules and liked them even more. So that's what got me into Trolls to begin with.
Trolls was my original want-to-go-to Horde faction. It was one, I looked at that, and then when I asked around about it, it didn't really fit my game style. So I played Circle for quite a while. This year I'm going back to Trolls because I'm kind of like the... Trolls are not easy to play. I'm not going to say that they're easy faction, but the way that they play is generally ham-fisted, if that makes sense.
Big meaty fisted?
Big meaty fists. And after spending a year playing Circle, which is a lot of overly complicated movement and trying to figure out weird things, it is very refreshing to throw a bunch of warders on the table and go, yeah, come at me, bro.
Yeah,
which I kind of like.
Yeah, the Trolls are not subtle in their style, that's for sure.
No. So, speaking of Trolls, what exactly has changed with Trolls now that Mark III is on the table? have trolls changed much at all? Are they still pretty much the same faction they were back in Mark 3 or 2?
I mean, I would say they're close. I mean, the biggest hit, which affected the game overall, but the trolls really felt it because they seemed to everything have it, was the change to tough. So all of a sudden, being able to make multiple tough rolls, even when you're knocked down, losing that for trolls was a bit of a hit. Although I had a fun game where I had steady and they couldn't knock any of them down and made tough roll after tough roll. So it was like reliving Mark II all over again. The beast got balanced. I mean, Maul, everyone said was too powerful. They brought him down. They left the Mauler where he was. They nerfed the Earthborn a little bit. So you got something knocked down, but then you saw improvements. Like Gunbjorn became much better as a caster and actually playable now. We've got the wonderful caster at Madrak 2. Some of the models that we were seeing in near the end of Mark II remained relatively unchanged, which was nice. Seeing the Fire Eaters basically stay almost exactly the same was good to see because they're another one of the good units. So Mark III, we saw balancing of some of the overpower stuff, but we saw boosts and benefits in some of the stuff that was underplayed, except the Skinner. No one likes the Skinner, ever.
Still nobody loves the Skinner.
I don't know. And the funny part is like, so when Dallas is on tonight, I full on expect you to give him a solid ribbing on the Skinner because, I mean, he's one of the like, he's one of the like, I love the Skinner. It's so good. You need to get it. And it's like, no, it's really not. It's pretty much the same. I think you've hit all the sort of points. I think the biggest change for trolls overall is they've had a rebalancing on their hit points.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have nearly as many 8-box. We used to have. I mean, it used to be 8-box infantry all over the place. That changes the armor skew a bit.
Down to 5.
Warders are still really great, but they're now at 5 boxes,
Yeah.
so they're not impossible to kill, whereas they used to be pretty much impossible to kill. We've seen a rebalancing with the way a lot of the units work in particular.
Yeah.
So each unit, which, I mean, it used to be that sort of warders, champs, even Fenblades to a certain degree, all sort of fit into the same sets of, I can take this or take this, and there's a slight difference, but not a huge difference.
Right.
And then Warders came out and they were like ridiculously much. They were just more solid on all counts, and then they got nerfed, and then they were complete trash, and you throw them away. They're horrible. But now what's happened is Warders are a really good defensive unit.
Yep.
Champs are a really good offensive unit with and Fenblades, for example, are a really fast moving unit. And so they each have a niche to fill.
It's good.
And they don't cross over that niche as much as they used to. Really, Fenblades, they die to a stiff breeze.
Yeah.
Whereas champs, they're killable, but not impossible to kill. And warders are just friggin' ridiculous to get off the board, as you guys have seen in the last couple of weeks.
Would you agree with that, Fraser? That sounds pretty much.
It does. I mean, you're still seeing. I mean, you still have a lot of because in Mark I, trolls were really buff oriented, where you got a halfway or an average unit where you needed like a fell caller to do some things, or you needed the chronicler, you needed to add those layers on top of that. You're not seeing that as much in Mark III. You're still seeing it. It definitely helps. I mean, the Kithkar with the Fenblades really helps out. The fell caller is still a fantastic take as a solo, giving Pathfinder and a stick. So you're still seeing some of those, but you don't have the same reliance that we used to have in Mark I and into Mark II.
Right. So the next question, guys.
So lots of infantry, huge amounts of guys is what you've been talking about. Is that what trolls do best, or are they now a shooty faction, or what's going on? What is their best?
I think they still can do both. I mean, they have shooty options now with Gunbjorn, giving them being able to support a shooty army. You've got some beasts that have some good firepower. The bomber being able to snipe himself, or sorry, get far strike on himself, so he's able to chuck those big power kegs. You've got the Blitzer, which is one of the underused board beasts from Mark II. You're beginning to see more of him being used. He's got D3 shots. There's even people that are doing a lot with, of all things, sluggers. Sluggers seem to be making a comeback. As if you've got 5 D3 shots coming out, you can do some damage with that. So shooting is definitely an option. Some people like the Highwaymen. I'm still trying to figure out how they work into my lists. But there's definitely a lot of shooting options. But I mean, the beasts are still.
Well, we had a flare out on Fraser. Sorry, we flared you out for a sec here. I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. 1 second.
I think Fraser may need to restart his audio there.
Yeah, Fraser, just give your audio a restart. I'll try to fill in a little bit of. There we go. I think you got your. Nope, you've gone right out now.
Your mic is gone.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm just gonna keep filling in the blanks while we wait for Fraser to get things up and running again. What I was gonna say is, what does Trolls do best? Well, Trolls, they do armor really well. Really, really well, and they're backed up with tough on top of all of that. So that, I mean, that's really sort of where that faction is encapsulated, is tough to kill stuff. Try talking, Fraser. Yeah, we're back. Okay, I'm just going to bring you right back up. Oh, so weird. Nope, we've lost you again.
It's like every time you lean into your mic.
I'll sit back. How's that?
There you go.
Now it's working.
I won't move. How's that?
There we go.
That's great.
Now we just need to get you loud enough that everybody can hear you. Okay.
How's that?
That's
There we
perfect.
go.
Perfect.
Oh.
Okay, so you were talking about some of the things that could shoot, but what is it that trolls do best? I mean, if you're looking at a faction overview and you're looking at most lists, what is it that trolls do?
Beat face. I mean, really, there's no subtlety to these lists. I mean, they're basically your guys survive long enough so they can get into and your Mauler and your Maulg and your Rock and your Beast can do their damage. You get in so if your Fenblades can survive long enough, they can just take out a bunch of stuff, especially with Cleave with the UA. So it's pretty much point and run and beat them up. At least that's been my approach. But then again, I don't have the best win-loss ratio, so maybe that's not.
Yeah, and yeah, I would say that you combine beat face because they can take it. Delivery is very rarely an issue at Trolls.
Right.
I see.
Getting stuff down the field is not usually your problem.
So they're an attrition army.
No, I would think that. Yeah, I think armor skew and survivability would be closer to my.
Okay.
Theory. And it depends on your list, of course. I mean,
True. Yeah.
No army is a single thing unto itself.
That's
you can't
right.
just look at a faction and say, "Oh, that's all that this does."
Yeah.
I mean, Gunbjorn is super legit now. You've got really cool. They are the colossal faction because we're going to be the first ones with a third colossal.
Oh, and that looks gorgeous.
Yep.
So, with all the awesomeness that you've talked about, what would you say it was that Trolls can't do?
We'll let Fraser take that first. What can't Trolls do?
Or what do they struggle with, I should say? Not what they
I'm
can't do.
I'm trying to think what we do poorly against. I think if depending on what you bring, going against shooting armies, ones that can out threat you with the shooting, they can peel off a lot of your key pieces and snipe out your key pieces. So Gunbjorn helps with that on his feet. Same with Borka with his feet, gives a bit of assistance. But
And Ragnar too.
Yeah, Ragnar as well. So we've got some answers, and we're seeing more of Ragnar as well. But I think powerful shooting lists. I know looking at the battle reporter results, the worst faction we have luck with right now is Mercenaries and Legion, the two that we're seeing the most. And I know Legionary, you're seeing a lot of Osram. There we go.
Osram.
Awesome.
Osram is awesome.
Yeah, that's what I say. Scotty calls him Captain Osram. That's what I know him as. I have to think about the real. So yeah, it's a heavy shooting list that can scalpel out some of the key pieces and move those down. I think that is one of our weakest points right now. Again, it's depending on the caster that you bring. That's been my experience. I haven't had a lot of jacks, but I think that's not unique to Trolls. Seeing jack spam is a huge annoyance. I had to play Bubba a couple times with his card chest list, and that's
that is a scary thing.
Yeah.
That's a challenge for anybody, and Trolls just as much. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Pretty much the same. Yeah, shooting sucks. High mobility assassination casters are a huge problem, especially if they can get to you. Because one of our biggest answers to shooting are warders, because that just gives you a shield guard on a stick, which is great. Because really, like a caster like Ragnar has all the answers against blast. He just digs in. You can't kill him. Surrounds himself with a bunch of warders. Now you can't shoot him off the board. He basically can slough off 5 extra hits. So all of that snipe doesn't mean as much anymore. The problem starts to arise when you've got super high mobility casters that can get right in your or assassins that can get right in your face, that can nullify tough, that can get rid of your buffs and your spells. That's when it starts to really, at least in my experience, fighting a lot of Retribution lately. Retribution's a beast because if they can get to you, which it's very hard to stop them from getting to you.
They some fast stuff.
Yeah, they've got fast stuff. They've got they've got acrobatics on everything.
Yeah.
If they can get to you, you're in some serious trouble. That's in my experience, but then that's maybe our meta, and because it is a bit skewed towards Retribution right now. But yeah, I think anything that can get to you, because you don't have as high level shooting, you don't have all that range. If you can't, if you're spending 3 or 4 rounds to get to your opponent, or your opponent can get to you round 1 and just ignore all of your defenses, you're in huge trouble because you don't have answers to it generally. But then there's always the stone, and there's the fact that you're walking around with your caster at arm 21, 22 sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
you can. There's words I can say about that type
Yeah.
of armor
Yeah.
caster.
Yeah.
So casters, you've talked about Ragnar of the unsayable name. You've talked about Gunbjorn, and then there's Madrak too. So is he just the best caster? Like, is there a discussion who are the best casters? Is it Madrak 2 and then whoever else you brought?
If you look at the WTC list, I think there's a lot of people that agree with that statement. Because I think he was taking like 47% of all troll players brought Madrak 2. He's definitely the what people consider the strongest. Although I think there's definitely answers to him. I mean, I think we've got a solid supply of casters to pull from. I mean, Borka 1 and Borka 2 are still solid. You've got Gristle 1. You've got Klandra, who still has Starcross with a larger Fury count. So he actually goes, it's a 16-inch Starcross bubble. So we're not lacking for good casters. Ones that really stand out as being top tier, then, yeah, I'd say Madrak. Ragnar is definitely in that group as well.
I totally agreed. What I would say, the reason why Madrak you're seeing so much of it is because top tier players cracked him early, and his feat is slightly not super broken. There's an easy solution for him right now, but there's a jank list that works really, really well, because it just gets it ups him to 1,000,000, and he got cracked. That's going to happen over and over again. Madrak 2 is super powerful now. There's a simple change to him that will fix Madrak 2, which is just that it becomes friendly. It becomes friendly faction instead of friendly.
Mm-hmm.
The friendly thing is the problem right now. We can. I mean, I can't go into great detail because I don't play Madrak 2 regularly. This is coming from other top players and what they think. The problem with Madrak is just a slight wording issue. That wording issue will be fixed, and then we just have to wait for the next caster to be cracked, really. And that's what happens. Somebody goes, oh, if I put this with this, it works awesome. And
Now, you say Madrak was the first to be cracked, but would you say that is broken? Like the crack that we currently have?
It's totally fair and balanced. Totally fair. There's one big problem. It's and as I said, I'm only speaking from a secondary point of view, and Fraser may be able to talk about this more. It's Madrak combined with a couple units of Shamblers.
Okay.
Shamblers basically just provide him with everything he needs, with a ridiculous recursion.
Okay.
Sure.
So Fraser, you might be able to talk about it a bit better than I do.
Yeah, and I've played Madrak a few times. Madrak 2, I took him to the WTC fundraiser tournament back in August, and I played him a couple times on the Home Machine stream. And I've never taken Shamblers with him because I don't have the models. I find that at least the way I play him, his entire army is just a delivery system for Madrak. That's all I'm using him for. So what I typically do is I run my stone a little bit further back. And because if I have to pawn off a hit to the stone, it goes to the Krillstone, who then pawns it off to one of the guys behind them. So my Krillstone acts is sort of like my Shambler. So that wording fix wouldn't necessarily affect the way I play it. Granted, I won't have as many. If I bring in a max stone, I only have 5 guys to go through. But for me, the biggest thing with Madrek 2 is just I don't care what dies in between me getting Madrek to where I just need to kick off his feet.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The wording issue will just fix the Shambler issue, which is the soul recursion. I think it's the corpse recursion with Shamblers is the problem. Is you pawn off a bunch of stuff to your other things and create more Shamblers, which you can then pawn off.
Oh, see, I hadn't seen that text, so yeah, that makes it broken. That's horrible.
Totally broken because now you're...
Don't ruin it for me.
So Fraser, your local store has 6 units of Shamblers for sale. This.
Yeah.
So I'm not hearing I can surf through 48 of your people and then kill you with 112 Fury on my caster. You guys aren't saying that is the busted part? Well, it's the Shambler recursion that you're worried about.
Yeah,
let's kind of bring this into focus.
Well, that's the thing, right? The Shamblers just keep giving you more and more and more and more and more.
See, I would have thought. I agree with George. I think the way they're going to fix him, they're going to make sure that he can't surpass his starting Fury count. That's the way to fix him. Where he can still surf, spend a Fury, get it back. And when he ends up where he needs to be, he's only on 5 Fury. That's the way to.
I agree. Absolutely.
I think delivery with your standard Fury is absolutely fine. I think that would make me.
So
less
you're
scared
saying
of him.
that it's just cap it at.
Yeah, cap it at his normal.
Hey,
max.
I agree with you. I mean, as I said, I haven't played Magic enough to be. I haven't played Magic at all, to be honest with you. I just won't. I won't. Well, the thing is that it's a matter of I don't tend to want to just play the list that everybody's playing, and I should. Yeah. I should at least try it so I know what I'm going to be facing later. But yeah,
and so the rest of us can play it.
Well, that's true too.
The thing I found too is there's no. I mean, other than Jay Larson from Chain Attack, of course, everyone copies his list, but there's not a lot of consistency between the different lists. I mean, you see some beats, you'll see some warders, but even that, you're not always seeing the warders with them as well. So it's interesting. You can have your own flavor. Like mine has Buffalo.
Right.
So we understand that Madrek 2 is the best caster. If we ignore Madrek 2, who's your best caster? What's the other best caster?
Oh.
I haven't played him, but I would say Ragnar.
Yeah, Ragnar's fucking ridiculous.
So you're saying so they hit it out of the park with the first caster?
Yeah.
The thing about Ragnar is as soon as the battle box is terrible. I'm going to be right out. The battle box
Trolls
is a
have
piece
never
of.
gotten a good battle box. As far
I don't
as
know
can
what
tell.
the hell is wrong. Why it's just like PP gave Retribution an amazing battle box. They gave Circle an amazing battle box. They gave Trolls the one we were like, please give us a good battle box, and they gave us a great caster, and then they were like, this caster's too good with everything, so we're going to give them the 3 lousiest.
Troll sales are fine. We don't need to buff them.
Because everyone needs like 16 impalers.
But I mean, I love Ragnar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically pretty much exclusively playing Ragnar right now.
Yeah.
Ragnar and my other list is a Gunbjorn list, and I have yet to really drag it out. But Ragnar has the answers to... The problem is the meta is so skewed towards 2 things. Shooty things and big stompy robots. Ragnar has the answer for both, because Ragnar with a Mauler and a Stone turns anything you throw at +6 to its strength.
That's
That
nasty.
is frigging... And with beatback.
That is nasty.
I wasn't one of the guys who was able to get one of the first off when they first came out, and I never went back to pick up the box because I have all the models other than Ragnar. So I played it as a battle box against my son's Kador battle box a couple times and lost horribly both times, which it's a little humbling losing to your 15-year-old, but hey, it happens. He loves the Kador box, by the way.
The Kador box is cool.
Yeah, so I've played him in that, and that's about it, because I was focusing on Madrek and Gunbjorn for the tournament, and I've been dabbling with a few other things. And the last caster I played was Borka too.
Something that's super fun that just to change it up, having a great time playing with the Mountain King and Ragnar. I think I do need to take the Mountain King out of the list and add a bunch more Maulers, just because Maulers are freaking awesome right now. Yeah, and their animus in combined with Ragnar is stupid. But you throw warders into the mix with Ragnar's feet, and you have one turn, nothing can kill you.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So in Mark II, it was widely said that trolls did not have a bad warcaster. Is that still true? In Mark III, is there a warcaster that you're like, well, I've got all these other warcasters. What is the worst one? What's the one that you're like, yeah, no.
Gristle 2.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that trolls are continuing.
Still pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much like.
Yeah, we have a
just
lot of.
pick a caster. It's going to be okay.
If you go by the common War Machine grading system of giving A's or A pluses to C minuses, sort of being your or D's,
Yeah.
I think almost all of our casters fit into that B to A plus scenario. Madrak obviously being the A plus, Ragnar being about an A. Calandra being a B plus to an A, or A minus, depending on how she's played in the list she's in. There's still a lot of casters people aren't playing. You don't see Berka.
No,
I actually saw him at the tournament on Sunday.
Sorry, Fraser, you were going to say?
Hey, he's lots of fun. See, there he is right there.
Yeah.
I was playing him yesterday. So I think it's part of the two is because we were so conditioned as troll players in Mark II. We knew what lists worked well. Everyone played Runes of War plus something else. So you have this idea where you're sort of locked into it, and people are. And I have to admit, I've done the exact same thing because as a new player, I looked to see what other people were playing because I wanted to find out if it was the list that was bad or me as a player is bad, and if the list that wins most games and I lose with it, then I know it's me. So I think people are going to that as well. They're finding the ones that are doing pretty well and not expanding past that.
Right.
And they're not willing to look at other lists. But the interesting thing that came out of there was a tournament, team tournament in Germany called Heavy Metal Days, I think. Mm-hmm. And the top troll caster, and he had a fantastic win ratio, was Doomy 2, which we don't anyone playing him here, or very few people playing him here. So it's interesting that what one meta or one area may say is not a good caster isn't being played can be taken in other areas.
We've talked about it a lot on the cast over the years, over our 50 episodes of the Death Clock. We've talked about this a million times. Casters get unlocked.
Yeah.
Suddenly a caster that everybody thought was crap suddenly becomes good.
Yeah.
Because a top player goes, hey, wait a second, I never thought of this interaction before, and all of a sudden it changes. That's happened in the history of War Machine several times. We've seen casters suddenly come out of the woodwork.
Somebody actually opened a book and read Denny 2's Theme Force, and then it was like, oh my God, have you seen Denny?
And we're up for honestly, this whole cast is going to be defunct the day the Theme Forces come out.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely,
the world is about to change in December when the Theme Force books start dropping, and I mean, from what we've seen of Theme Forces right now, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, they're going to be amazing.
We're all going to be playing in Theme Forces. Mark my words.
So
when our books come out,
So you're getting ready for your Theme Force. What is the one model that you want to see in the Theme Force? What is the standout, most awesome model in?
Do you mean like what's the
Trolls?
best model in Trolls? What should every new player go out and buy? Is that
No, not necessarily what every new player should go out and buy, because there are some really amazing models that I would never tell people to buy as their first model, because that would just be silly. It wouldn't fit in any new person list.
What model do you want to see turned up to 11?
No. What model do you, as the not troll player, what model do you not want to see across the table from? What's that awesome model?
Krillstone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's utility-wise. If you're looking for just sheer output, the Mauler.
Yeah.
Because the Mauler will fit in every list, or it should fit in every list.
That is pretty much my the Creelstone is iconic to Trolls.
Yes.
It is the choir of Menoth for Trolls, if that makes sense. It's definitive to our faction. I'm glad that they didn't nerf it to shit.
The question is not, do I put the Creelstone in? The question is, why am I not putting the Creelstone in? Is there a really good reason not to do that?
I'm not really understanding
when you're building
your
a list,
those points would be better spent
when you're building
elsewhere.
when you're building a list, you always start with, here's my caster, here's a Creelstone, and then later on you have to think to yourself, okay, if I take out the Creelstone, am I really buying myself anything? It's the absolute, just the thing you always put in.
I don't understand what the question is.
That's how you can tell he's a troll player. Even the concept of not putting in a
No.
Krill stone,
So what you're
it's
saying
just
is
flabbergasted
what you're
him.
saying is I'm trying to understand your question, because here's
So,
the problem. It's a
okay.
weird backhanded question you're asking. You're saying
So-
what other than those two models?
When I'm playing Signar, I put in my caster and a squire, and then I get down to the end and I'm like, if I take out this squire, I can put in Iris. Is
so
it
you're
worth
asking what
taking
the
out the squire to put in Iris? Is there anything that you would take out that
I
you
thought
would?
I understood the question.
that
Now
out
I'm
to
more
get it
confused.
either.
Now
I'm
I'm even
so
more
confused.
confused.
Fraser, do you understand what he's trying to ask?
Sadly, I kind of do. So it's no offense, George. But I think the idea is, I mean, for me, the only time I've ever taken the stone out is when I realize, like if I have a caster where I know I'm fairly fury efficient, I won't necessarily, because I know I need everything I have, and keeping the stone filled up initially is a good call for me. So I've run my Gunbjorn list both with a stone and without a stone, and I found the few games I played, I didn't need the stone that much because I went in for quick assassination. So, but if I'm playing in a tournament, I'm almost guaranteed putting it in.
It's
There's
always
very
gonna be
few
there.
times that unless you know exactly who you're playing against, the stone just gives you too much benefit. So I think 99 times out of 100 in a tournament, I'm not gonna drop the stone. It's a guarantee. It stays there.
The
Cool.
answer to your question for me is when Madrak 3 comes out and he basically works as his own Krill stone.
When-
But then you
when-
get two Krill stones.
Oh my god. So I've done it. I've bought into trolls. I'm standing in front of 100 pretty blue models. Well, models that are going to be painted blue. Which one do I pick up? And then you standing next to me go, you might not want to do that. What model is it that you don't want in trolls, Fraser?
I would say Krill Warriors.
The Krill Warriors they just don't make the cut.
They're cheap, but will let you down every single time.
So they're not inexpensive, they're cheap.
Correct, which is even worse.
I would say the worst mistake you can make after you buy your battle box is to buy another
Impaler.
And the problem is we all have the older players, people who started in trolls a while ago, have the old battle box, the new battle box, and you're like, right now, I conservatively, sitting on my shelf, have 7 impalers.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I gave you my impalers out of
Yeah,
my old
I have
bottle box.
7.
Right?
So you've got the multiple poses of
Yeah.
impaler. You've got multiple. You got metal and plastic.
Now, on the opposite side of that, I'd say the first thing that, if you're looking at it, the first thing you do after buying the battle box is to buy the Mauler, to buy the Krill Stone, and to buy Warders. Like, if you've got the money for those things, that's kind of the direction.
Oh, Fraser's making
Fraser's
a face.
opposing.
No, I'd say before the Warders, I would go after Fire Eaters.
Oh, yes, Fire Eaters are awesome. I haven't played them because I
Fire-
don't own them, but
Fire Eaters, double Fire Eaters and a Pirate Troll, and you're just in all sorts of land of wonderfulness.
I have a Pirate Troll. Now I need double Fire Eaters. The big thing is that the Krill Stone, as we said, is going to show up in everything you do, and the Krill Stone UA is super. I mean, that UA for its point cost is friggin' ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've kind of done this, but you've got your battle box. The next steps are apparently Mauler, Krill Stone, Fire Eaters, Pirate Troll. Is that where we're going here?
Yeah, you could go.
Mountain King.
Let's go.
Or you
Jump
could do the
straight in.
Maelstrom way.
Yeah, just buy
this is a battle box
buy
and
the
a Mountain
Colossal
King.
first. Yeah.
That's not a terrible way to go.
Guys, you can't go wrong with either of the Colossals right now.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. I mean, the trolls are right now the colossal faction. They have every
Viable Colossals.
viable colossals.
It's amazing. So, would you guys say that the thing that you're looking forward to most in the future for trolls is the new Colossal?
Sea King.
Sea King.
For me, I mean, the Sea King, I'm curious to see it. I love his boat top hat.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I want to see about the Colossal has nothing to do with the rules. I want to see if they do that in the new polystyrene plastic,
Oh yeah.
like they're doing the bird or Zapdos, because I'm curious to see how it is. Because I've my Mountain King I bought off a buddy of mine, so I didn't have to put it together. I'm putting together Dallas from Trollblood Scrum. We're lighting up his Glacier King.
Nice.
And that thing is just a pain in the ass to put together. So I'm hoping if it's polystyrene, it'll actually be much easier to put together and be easier to suggest to other people. Because right now, building that Mountain King and Glacier King is just
Well, I have some Prime Confluxes on order, so I can let you know the difference between assembling a Prime Axiom and a Prime Conflux soon.
Okay.
I have thoroughly enjoyed my forays into the new styrene plastic. My Stormclads, Reliant, and the TEPs are all the new plastic, and they're all gorgeous.
I really, I mean, I love big stompy trolls. I think they're super fun to play, but as a painter, I am super excited about that.
They look amazing. When
There is
just
just so well. I mean, as far as doing creative basing on that is concerned,
So guys, I
hot.
have $1 million troll idea. Water slide transfer patterns for the kilts. So you paint them all one color, and then you take this water slide transfer and you put it on to onto the model, and you've got your beautiful tartan.
I'm sure there's a market out there. I'm sure there's a lot of trouble.
Where do I send my money?
Well, you can go to store.moosemachinenetwork.com.
Yeah. There we go.
I'll have them ready for Wednesday. So, assuming that is your favorite thing coming in the future, what would you say is something for advanced troll players? Is it Colossals? Is that where the working is, or is it is there something else that you think people should be trying to unlock?
Well, I think once a lot of it's going to deal with the theme list, right? Depending on what the theme lists do, that drove so much of the competitive lists in Mark II, and I think it's going to do the same thing in Mark III, especially if we're getting free models and you're getting benefits that way. That's what I think you're really going to see a lot of the list take off. But the Colossals, as good as they are, and I love them, they don't take a lot of finesse to use.
So they're just sort of a point and shoot.
Yeah, and beat stick and take the beatings of your opponents as well, and then continue to beat them up the next turn. So I think the real finesse piece is trying to unlock some of the models, or for the more advanced players, seeing if we can start using scattergunners, which are great models. Again, a model I loved. I wanted to play so badly in Mark II, and when I saw the rules in Mark III, I kind of went, okay, they're not coming off my shelf anytime soon. So I'd like to see some of those things unlocked, and I'm hoping that's what some of the theme lists will do, is where they balance some stuff to make it good, and they knew that they were going to do some other balancing of some of the other models with the theme list, or give them benefits that way.
So do you think this WTC is actually everybody is in sort of their holding pattern? These are their lists until we know what theme forces are? Or do you think the type of lists that we're seeing right now are going to continue past the theme force launch?
I think it depends on the list. I think Madrak, until it gets nerfed, people will have variations. You won't see the same list day to day, but you'll see the same key pieces. That's really the only one, because the Gunbjorn lists I looked at, they're all over the place. Like my Gunbjorn list has a Glacier King and a War Wagon in it, and I love that combination, and Dozer and Smig. But I've seen other lists with double bombers or a bomber and blitzer. So you're not seeing consistent lists like you saw in Mark II, and I think that's the only time you're going to begin to see that is when we hit the theme force.
Well, it's also Wild Wild West right now too.
Mm-hmm.
WTC this year is happening so close to release. There are a few broken casters that are going to be used and let's be straight up honest. There's a few broken casters that you're going to see a lot of, because these guys are high level competitive players. You're not going to take a knife to a gunfight. You're going to take whatever's the best you can take.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. Madrak 2, if you're a troll player, is the best you can take. Wormwood is the best you can take if you're a circle player. They are, even if you have answers for them, they're still bitches to get rid of off the board. You're going to see those. Theme Forces are going to shake that up a lot. The nerfs are going to shake that up a lot. And 2 years, 3 years from now, it's going to be some of these lists will start to trickle down and solidify. We're so early on in this game right now that people are still figuring it out.
I kind of love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah,
I think this is a great place to be. But unfortunately, I think we have come to that place
Well, it is almost 9:00, so we did start a few minutes late tonight, and we've kind of already roundtabled all we can roundtable on trolls. We've discussed everything we can discuss. What I thought we'd do before we get into the lightning round tonight is I want to give Fraser a bit of a chance to talk about some of the projects that he's working on right now. First off, tell us a bit about the development of how you got to doing this whole giant math thing you've got going on with every faction in the universe. And I mean, we're all kind of poring over it because it's the information is fascinating because it's coming from everywhere. It's not meta locked. Tell us a bit about how that whole project came to be and where you hope to see it in the year.
So originally it came out of the Troll Blood Scrum. I was sort of curious to see what list people were playing. Curiosity, and to give us a topic on Troll Blood Scrum to talk about on a regular basis. And so that was really good, but we were seeing the biggest issue we ran into is that people typically report their good games, don't always report their bad games. So we were seeing all the trolls having about an 80 to 90% win ratio, which obviously we know is impossible. So what I wanted to doing is expanding it so it covered all the factions. And again, people still put in a higher percentage of wins that should be possible. But we did some math in the back end and provided the negative or the reverse results. That shouldn't have been that hard to say. And we're able to get an overall feel for what's going through. So I find it fascinating, and it's very nerdy, and but it keeps me busy at times when I look at it. Ideally, where I like to see it, I like to get a front end so we can put the information out of a database, and then people can sort of pick their faction. I want to look by caster and be able to drill down that level. Problem is I'm doing this on the cheap and I don't want to actually spend any money. So I'm trying to find a way to find some open source stuff and to talk to some people. I got one of the local guys here. He's actually working on an Android app for us. So you don't necessarily have to go through the Google form that we have right now, which if you want to fill it in, it's WMH, so War Machine Hordes, battlereporter.com. So fill in your stuff there. If you need a meta code, which means you can track your own group's games with your own special code, reach out to me through the link there, and I'll set you up for that. But ideally, in a year, I'd like to have it on a front end somewhere so people can access the raw data. They can look at some of the overall charts by faction charts, by caster charts, things like that. The biggest issue right now is even though we have over like 1,700, 1,800 games reported, we're still not seeing, when you drill down per caster, we're still not seeing enough data. In some cases, on some of the troll casters, they're only reporting like 10 or 15 games. Again, for example, like the Borga 2, you're not seeing a lot of, or you're not seeing a lot of Doomy 3. Same with things across. And some factions have been really good. Trolls have been really good just because we've been pushing this for like a year now. Other factions like Khador has been really strong, but ones like Signar and Menoth don't seem to step up. It's just a way to promote it to a wider audience, not just to the troll community. So
go ahead. I was going to say, as something interesting, you might want to generate a special version of that form for people who are running tournaments as a quick way to put in a whole mess of games at once, because it would be relatively easy in between rounds while you're sitting there waiting for someone to yell judge to just throw in that round's games. And it would probably give you a lot more different results.
Something I'm going to let you guys talk about after the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thing I want you to talk about, Fraser, is tell us a bit about what you're working on with a food machine coming up at an area near you.
I am going down to the Buffalo Food Machine, so I'm joining the fine guys down at Beer Machine for their food machine event, and then we'll be and partaking because it's they came up for my event in the spring, so I figured I at least owe them that. And besides, I want to hang out with the Buffalo guys because I've heard nothing but good things.
We're trying our hardest to make it.
Yeah.
There's one guy here who refuses to get a passport. He's like living under the radar, man. Doesn't want the man looking into his life.
I just don't know that I can get across the border.
How
sober do you have to be to cross the border?
The last thing, of course, we want to keep everybody around tonight. Stay on the stream. Go to the Moose Machine Network. Fraser and Troll Blood Scrum is a part of the Moose Machine Network. He broadcasts an hour after us every night. or every night, every Wednesday.
Every night.
It feels like Fraser broadcasts every night.
Feels like we
It
broadcast.
makes
every
us look like we're lazy. Fraser, tell us a bit about what you got going on in Troll Blood Scrum, not Scum,
Scrum
tonight.
Truth comes out how you feel about me, apparently. No, the tonight on Troll Blood Scrum, we have the, I was going to say infamous. We have the Privateer Press studio painter Dallas Kemp joining us. He's going to be talking about painting. We tested his setup through Google Hangouts, which is what we use to do our streaming magic, and he's actually going to be painting while he's talking to us.
See, I thought he was fired repeatedly last year.
Oh well, sure. Maybe.
I dare you to call him Matt DiPetrio at least 4 times. I'm just kidding.
If I knew who that was, I would. But
that was the old studio.
That was the old
band.
studio guy.
Anyway, Dallas helped me out a lot when I was doing my bust for Privateer Press. So I've become friends with him on Facebook. He's an amazing guy. Very
nice.
open with information. None of that sort of like I am keeping this all close to the chest.
magic potion thing.
No, he's all about helping everybody out and making sure that this community, this growing community around War Machine, outside of the game itself, the art community around War Machine is growing. He's a fantastic artist on top of it all. All right, guys.
I totally agree.
It is time for the lightning round. Hit that button.
The lightning round.
Okay, guys, we got a special treat for the lightning round tonight. I don't know whether you guys can do this, but you might want to get a piece of paper.
Uh-oh.
That's worrying.
So we
That's
had
all right.
we had a really nice offer. We had a really nice offer from one of our viewers to come in and write a bunch of questions for us. His name is Jock Carlson. He is from away. He's not from. I can't remember where he's from. He is from Sweden. Bork, as he says.
Bork.
Which is really awesome. I have a whole bunch of friends in Sweden. I love Sweden. It's one of my favorite places to go. Of course, they have
Come see the fjords.
Come see the fjords. They
They have really great death metal there.
They have really great death metal
And meatballs.
and lovely
I was just
meatballs.
at IKEA last night.
Yeah,
Damn.
And you know what? I love Swedes because
Yeah.
the best part is, I mean, IKEA is actually a thing there. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's good.
Flat
tiny,
pack.
So we
Tiny
have
little
reduced
red
an entire
houses.
country
tiny,
to
tiny little red
Death
houses
metal
IKEA,
and
death metal,
meatballs.
and meatballs.
and really nice people. They're good
Yeah,
at
super
fishing.
nice.
They like
Yeah.
fishing. So we're gonna have. It's actually only 3 questions tonight.
Only 3.
3 questions.
The 3
tonight.
hardest questions.
You
in
might
War
want to
Machine?
grab that Bristol board over there and a pen or something, because this is. So what we're gonna do tonight is I'm gonna give you guys time,
Uh-oh.
and instead of buzzing in, I'm going to give you each 10 to 15 seconds. We'll see how it
Pen.
goes. Go grab that pen
Grab
for
that
him.
pen for me, George.
And what you can do is you're going to write down your answer.
Sorry.
I get hit with cardboard all of a sudden. You're going to write down your answer, and we'll go around, and everybody can give their answers, and I'm going to give points to whoever gives the right answer.
All right.
So you ready for this?
Okay.
Ote Panky.
Okay. Question number 1.
Yeah.
Some cataphract Centrati
Centrati.
with base arm 16 was standing in shield wall when they managed to catch fire. And in the Scorn player's turn, the fire didn't go out. How much does the opponent have to roll to damage on the Citrati? To get damage, this is going to be translated from Swedish, so there might be some weirdness. To do damage on the Citrati, what do you have to roll?
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay, I'm going to give another 10 seconds. While they're thinking, I'm just going to talk a little bit about
I thought you were going to give us all
my
the questions.
40th. No, I'm just giving you that one.
Oh,
That's
okay.
question number 1.
I got it.
And everybody's got their answer? We're going to
Yep.
go around. Okay. PG, send me out of magic.
He has to roll well.
Do you have a real answer?
I do, but it's probably wrong. Dice -8.
Dice -8 is very close. Very close.
I'm going to say, you want to, let's do Fraser.
Fraser,
next.
Fraser, what's
and
your
I'll
answer?
just round them off.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Dice -8.
And
I got 7.
it is dice -8. You needed to do 9 damage to do any damage.
Yes.
Was the exact. So I'm going to give each of you 1 point for question number 1. Question number
No, you
2.
didn't.
That Veil. So
just
in
doing
Mark
one
2,
less?
it would have been 5 because Shield Wall's duration stopped before the continuous effect phase came around. But in Mark 3, Shield Wall lasts until the next activation.
Yep.
Question number 2. Vale 2 wants to cast Chasen at a unit of Stormblades, but she's standing 10 inches away from the closest Stormblade, and Chasen only has a range of 8. So she decides to cast an Oraculi on her pet, Rake, who is standing only 2 inches away from the very same Stormblade Grunt, and use him to channel the spell. What does Vale 2's player need to roll to hit the Rake? No modifiers.
Interesting. Do we get points for
The
other
Rake
parts
is-
of the question? Because there's a giant problem in your question.
What was the giant problem?
The Rake has reach and therefore is not a valid
Okay, so
target
we'll
to
say
arc.
it's slightly out of... Slightly out.
Slightly
We'll say it's
farther
slightly
than
out.
2 inches.
Okay. I wish you hadn't said that because you just ruined the... It was a curveball question.
Oh, okay.
So,
Rake has stealth.
way to go.
There's
So,
all
it
kinds of
doesn't-
problems.
It
with
doesn't
this.
matter because she'll miss because the Rake has stealth and should be beyond 5 inches. In Mark II, that would have worked because it was stated that only enemy attacks miss.
But
It's
the
been
Rake has
removed.
reach.
But you can, however, cast a buff at something friendly with stealth that is greater than 5 inches away since it's not an attack. But yeah, as you said, also has a reach. So
It
yeah.
only has a 1-inch reach.
Way to go,
That was
George.
my-
Next time, just shut your cake hole and write your answer down, and
Right.
then you can say,
How far away was the Rake? Because Rakes only have a 1-inch reach,
yeah.
not 2.
So
Oh, they
you're
changed
wrong.
it now?
Yeah, you're wrong.
They only have a 1-inch reach.
Way to go, ruining the
They
question.
used to have 2 inches.
I was going to say stealth, that she can't shoot it because it's stealth.
That
and
was the
she's
right
further than
answer.
5
George
inches
is
away.
wrong and ruined the question on top of all of that.
Thanks, George. Thanks for ruining my Legion question for me.
So do you want me to ruin questions or just the
No.
snarky answers?
Stop and write down your answer.
Okay.
You'll figure this out.
Putting a 3 down on my paper.
Okay. Fraser, what was your answer? Was it the stealth thing?
No, it was the right answer, whatever the right answer was.
The right answer was it had stealth,
Stealth,
and
you can't.
wouldn't have worked. All right, question number 3. This is really difficult. This guy's got it down. An Osram player is running some spray bunnies because why shouldn't he?
Yep.
One of them moves up and places himself 1.5 inches away from a Stormblade and sprays 3 other Stormblades next to him. The first target being hit and killed is the leader of the unit. So that player replaces the Stormblade next to the Spray Bunny. Since the Stormblades are an odd unit where the leaders have a range 2 on his melee weapon and the others don't, now the Spray Bunny becomes engaged in melee and can't make range attacks. What happens now? Take a couple seconds, write down your answer. What happens next? Because now can't make ranged attacks. Everybody's thinking, pondering. These guys are deep in thought. It's a difficult day in the neighborhood. We'll talk about some of the upcoming events while these guys are coming up with their answers. Like Fraser's already got his answer. He's like super
got mine
confident.
I got mine too.
You got yours? Everybody's
Yeah.
got their answers. Okay. George, what's your answer?
He just keeps rolling as normal because sprays are simultaneous.
Fraser?
I was going to say he's sad, but apparently that's not the right answer.
Sad is not the right
I was going
answer.
to say you go for an ice cream.
Go for an ice cream.
Because nobody hurts.
George?
And nobody cries.
You win tonight because you're absolutely right. Spray attacks are simultaneous, so the Ostrom player continues to make the attacks, and then the following models get caught in the spray. Then he moves up with the other 5 spray bunnies and kills the crap out of the Stormblade leader. That would have been an extra. That would have been an
Bonus
extra
points.
point. Bonus point.
bonus point for the other 12 spray bunnies.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Joachim or Joaquin, or I'm sorry we don't know how to pronounce your name because it's Swedish. Thank
We're
you.
dirty Canadians.
Just
Thank
send
you.
us an MP3 with you saying your
With you
name,
saying your
and we'll just play it
Well,
every
thank
time.
you so much. That was really I enjoyed that. That was a
Yeah,
different
that was
way to do
awesome.
the lightning round, and I like how it kind of goes with the how the questions worked for getting into the play testing.
Oh yeah,
like
it's
we've been arguing about a couple of our answers all week because we're still just not 100% sure.
I would love if in the back of each no quarter was a giant list of the like the questions that we got in that in that document, and then in the next no quarter it had the answers.
That would be pretty
That
cool.
would be fun because
Yeah.
you'd have like a month to go to yell about it, to complain about it, and figure it out.
Getting fist
We know
fights with your
Privateer
friends.
Press listens to all of our podcasts because we are.
Yeah, so when that happens
so
next month,
famous. So you should just do
we
that.
called it.
Or what you do is, George, you start writing into No Quarter and with all your extra time.
Oh yes.
It was your idea.
Fraser's going to tell Dallas in an hour.
Or just invite a PP person onto the podcast. That way, Privateer Press always has to listen to make sure they don't say
Make sure we're not saying
Oh,
horrible
yeah.
things.
We tried. We've tried. Apparently,
like this more.
apparently they like you more than they like us.
Oh.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us, Fraser. That was horribly enlightening. Do you guys
Horribly
I mean,
enlightening?
horribly. I've realized I know nothing about trolls. That's what I learned.
That's the horrible part.
That's the horrible part. No, that was super enlightening, and it's always great to have other podcasters on the show
Yes.
because they generally have better audio equipment than everybody else.
It's so true.
I want to do a quick thank you to my two co-hosts for getting us up to our 50th episode.
I can't believe we made it.
Oh my God, we've been doing this for a little over a year now,
Yeah.
and it's we've done it. We did 50 episodes. I thought we'd make it to maybe 32,
Well,
33,
that's the break point.
31.
31.
31.
31.
Also, and I want to thank you guys
Ferris,
for making
Bueller.
this my 40th birthday. I think that's a good way to spend your 40th birthday. Is to spend it with three of my closest buddies. We'll hope to see everybody in next week. Join us for the show. We've got plenty more to talk about. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah, I'm not
There's a lot
100%
of
sure.
there's a lot of things up in the air. We're
Probably
still waiting.
the WTC results.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget the WTC is on this weekend,
Mhm.
and that's like our Super Bowl.
Yeah, I've been talking to Clint, who's the guy who has all the physical equipment there, and I'm excited.
You're jealous. You just wish you were tapping a computer.
I want all of his things.
Well, you just want to be there behind the computer on top of it.
Yeah, I one of those dream things is if people want to throw vast quantities of money at us for no apparent reason, is for us to go and do the same thing Clint's doing on a different set of tables.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to work that out. Maybe we need to team up with Clint next year and make it a bigger Kickstarter, GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Before we go, Fraser, do you have any cool events coming up in the area you want to shout out about?
I do, other than the Food Machine one at down in Buffalo. That's the next one I'm going to that I know of. But other than that, and there's going to be a battle for breath in the spring of next year, but I'm still working through the details on that one.
Perfect. George, do we have any cool events coming up in the area?
We have this weekend, we have a tournament at FDB. On the 15th of October, we have another steamroller at Kessel Run. And on the 29th of October, we have our Halloween event. It is a format we're calling Two-Headed Pharaoh. You and a friend, each with a 35-point list, will be against another set of people with a 35-point list. 1 clock for the pair of you.
Cool. And of course, I'd be remiss if we left the show this evening without giving a little bit of a shout out to the Wizards Tower,
Who help us get to 50.
who helped us get to 50. Actually, they've been around since, I want to say, episode 20, I think.
Yeah.
Was about when we
Yeah.
brought them on. And they make sure that we can pay our bills, because this does cost money to do. There's little things like putting your sound waves up on the interwebs that cost you money in the end. They are a great store. They are online and physical store. They are, I want to say their staff is about 800 people that seem to work there. And
I don't think Dave's quite doing 800, but
He's getting there.
Yeah, he's got quite
like,
a few.
There's always like 7 little dudes playing, sorting out magic cards, and
So many cards.
so many cards. So, anyways, do us a favor, go to their website, or if you're in the Ottawa area, go to their store. They do a full stock. They have every single model, and if you need an Ogre and Boker,
They got you covered.
they've got 9 of them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why.
Nobody's 100% sure.
I think they just ordered 3 more for some reason. I think Dave really likes the Ogre and Boker.
Oh, that's what it is.
I think that's what. Actually, I've seen Bokers in lists lately, so I don't know. Maybe it's legit now. Shield Guard.
Shield Guard.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. Go to the Wizards Tower. They're great. And it's time for us to put that dice down.
Dice down!
Moose Machine and This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes is a proud part of the Muse on Minis network. Podcasts go online every Thursday morning.